A single mom helps a starving old man, but he's the CEO's father. What happens next shocks everyone. But before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from today. And if this story moves you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more powerful stories just like this one. Before this story begins, tell me in the comments, have you ever been completely underestimated because of how you look? It was one of those mornings. She tucked her son Mason's lunch into his backpack, kissed him goodbye at the school gate, and darted down the block to her job at Benny's Deli. But the coffee was strong, and the customers tipped some of them. Emma Carter, 29, single mom, barista, and full-time hustler, was running on 3 hours of sleep and exactly $18.46 in her checking account. Benny's wasn't glamorous. It was fluorescent lights, cracked linoleum, and an old bell that jingled every time the front door opened. Could I just get a glass of water? By 10:15 a.m., Emma had already served 46 people. That's when he walked in. A hunched, silver-haired man in a tattered brown coat. His eyes were kind, but sunk. His hands trembled as he held onto the counter. He didn't really walk, he shuffled. "Ma'am," he said, voice barely audible. Emma blinked. No one ever called her mom. Her heart twisted. She grabbed a glass, filled it, and slid it across. The man drank as if he hadn't touched water in days. Emma glanced at the display case of sandwiches. "Have you eaten?" she asked gently. He hesitated. "Not since yesterday." Emma nodded, pulled a turkey and cheese sandwich from the fridge, wrapped it, and handed it over. "No charge." "You've no idea what this means." The man's eyes widened. "I don't have any Udinita," she said. "Just eat." He looked wildly out of place among the cracked sidewalks and traffic cones. He looked at her, emotion brimming in his voice. Emma smiled faintly. "I think I do." Well, she didn't know that this man, this hungry, ragged stranger, wasn't just anyone. "Mr. Graham Whitmore would like to speak with you immediately." An heir to the Whitmore fortune. He was Harold Whitmore, father of billionaire CEO Graham Whitmore. But Emma wouldn't find that out until the next day. The next morning, Emma returned to work and found something odd. A sleek black Mercedes parked outside Benny's Deli. Out stepped a sharply dressed man with sunglasses and a Bluetooth earpiece. He entered the deli and scanned the room until his eyes landed on Emma. "You Emma Carter?" he asked, and all the icy composure of someone who hadn't had to take public transit in a decade. "My father." "You gave him a sandwich." Emma froze. Yes." He handed her a sealed envelope. "Wait, who?" The man gestured outside. "I have a car waiting." The envelope had a business card with a logo she recognized from every tech article ever. Whitmore Global. Still stunned, Emma followed the man into the car. It smelled like leather and cologne she couldn't pronounce. The driver didn't speak. Harold Whitmore, kind, discreet. "I run several humanitarian outreach programs. We need someone like you." Though most people just ignore him now. He shows up in places. I have people track him discreetly. Yesterday someone saw him at your deli. Ever since he left the family estate 5 years ago. Mental health struggles. Long story. They pulled up to a towering glass skyscraper in the heart of the city. Whitmore Tower. In her thrift store flats and apron, stepped into a marble lobby filled with gold-trimmed elevators and people who didn't smile. She was escorted to the top floor. And there, behind a walnut desk, stood Graham Whitmore, 35, CEO, power suit, Rolex. He turned and looked at her. "You didn't ask for his name, you didn't post anything online, you just gave him food." "You're Emma Carter," he said, arms folded. Emma nodded. "Yes. Is this about yesterday?" Graham raised an eyebrow. Emma blinked. "Wait, he's your father?" "Yes." Emma's breath caught. "I didn't know." "No one does," Graham said. Emma frowned. "Is he okay?" Graham studied her. Emma shrugged. He looked hungry. Graham tapped a folder on his desk. "I want to offer you a position. You're not just a barista. You're resourceful." Emma's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" But Graham wasn't smiling. This wasn't a gift. It was a test, and she was about to find out just how far this job offer would take her or cost her. What would you have done in this exact situation? Would you have stepped into that car, accepted the job offer, or walked away? Comment your answer before we reveal what happened next. 3 weeks later, Emma sat behind a desk on the 35th floor of Whitmore Global. In a corner office she still didn't believe was hers. Officially, she was Director of Community Outreach. Unofficially, she was Harold Whitmore's handler. Every few days Harold would wander into a food truck line or a city park and vanish off the grid. Emma's job was to track him, care for him, and if possible rebuild the bridge between him and his son. Graham barely spoke to his father directly. Everything was done through aides, memos, or her. At first she found it odd. One evening, after finding Harold near an old train station giving away his coat to another homeless man, Emma gently convinced him to come back to the company apartment they'd set up for him. She believed in people, even when they didn't believe in themselves. As she heated soup, Harold looked at her and smiled. "You remind me of my wife," he said softly. Emma's throat tightened. "That's a lovely thing to say." Harold leaned forward. "But don't trust this place to Israel." "But they called me delusional. Said I was too old, too forgetful. They made me disappear. It was old, crumpled, but full of printed emails, Reports, documents showing misappropriated charity funds, false donation reports, and internal memos that reeked of a my son, he's lost. He thinks money solves everything. But there are things happening in his company. Things I tried to stop. That's why I left. Emma froze. What do you mean? He lowered his voice. Emma blinked. Like what? He opened a folder he'd hidden under the couch cushions. Emma's heart dropped. I tried to expose it, Harold whispered. Emma clutched the folder. Fake invoices. Food drives that existed only on paper. The deeper she read, the more her stomach churned. What was this? Had she walked into a trap, or was this the moment everything was about to change? Share a time when kindness completely changed someone's life. Or tell us about a moment when you witnessed true justice prevail. Just stared at the papers like they might catch fire. Let's talk about it in the comments. Because optics matter. He gave everything to this company. You let the world think he was unstable, when in reality he was silenced. Because investors like the image of generosity. Then maybe you're not the man I thought you were. Emma sat on the edge of her bed that night. The documents spread out before her like a puzzle she didn't ask to solve. Donation funds siphoned into shell accounts. Sometimes you have to protect the vision no matter the cost. This wasn't just greed, it was exploitation in Harold Whitmore's name. Emma knew she had two choices. And when I tried to stop you, you let him say I'd lost my mind. 1. Report this to the authorities or media and risk losing her job, her credibility, and any chance of helping Harold further. 2. Confront Graham, a billionaire CEO, with the truth, face to face. Either way, she was about to cross a line. You knew all of it. This whole time. The next morning, she didn't take the company elevator to her office. She went straight to the executive suite. Graham stood behind his desk, casually scrolling his phone, when she entered. The question is, do you see it? You lied to me, she said. His eyes flicked up, annoyed. Excuse me. She dropped the folder on his desk. Your father wasn't delusional. He was right. Graham looked at the folder, then back at her, suddenly still. Where did you get this? From him. The man I gave a sandwich to. He didn't respond. Why? She asked. Why pretend to care about community outreach when you're stealing from it? Graham's expression didn't change. And your father? She asked, voice rising. His jaw tightened. You don't understand what it's like to manage billions. Emma stood her ground. He looked at her, no longer angry, but suddenly something else, ashamed. And that was when Harold walked in. Harold leaned on the doorframe, watching the tension between them with tired eyes. I wondered when you'd finally look at each other without pretending, he said. Graham's composure cracked. Dad, this isn't... It is. Harold interrupted. You lied to the board. You used my name to cover it up. Emma looked between them, stunned. Graham ran a hand through his hair. I was trying to fix it quietly. You buried it, Harold replied. And you lost yourself in the process. The silence stretched. Then Harold looked at Emma. You have more courage than anyone in this building, he said. You fed me when I had nothing. You listened. You saw me. He turned back to his son. And she saw you too, Graham. The part of you that's still decent. Graham looked down at the papers again. And slowly, he nodded. Then he walked to the desk, opened the company portal, and began typing. Emma watched as he submitted a resignation from 2 charity boards, a full release of the financial statements Harold had uncovered, a press statement acknowledging the company's wrongdoing. When he was done, he stood and looked at them both. I'm not proud of what I've done, but I want to make it right. Harold smiled for the first time in years. You start by telling the truth. 3 weeks later, Whitmore Global was in headlines across the country, but not for scandal. For reform. Graham Whitmore stepped down as CEO, but not out of the company. Instead, he launched a new division entirely dedicated to rebuilding trust, Whitmore Renewal. And the new executive director, Emma Cott, she accepted under one condition, that half the board seats be filled by representatives from the communities they served. Graham agreed. His records were cleared, his name restored. Harold was reinstated as chairman, and one evening, in the quiet corner of a new outreach cafe built in the city's poorest district, 3 people sat at a modest wooden table. Emma, Graham, and Harold. They didn't talk business that night. They talked about Mason's science project, about Harold's love of chess, and about how kindness, something as simple as a sandwich, can start a chain reaction big enough to change everything. As they left the cafe, Graham turned to Emma. I never asked, why did you help him that day? Emma smiled. Because I was hungry once too, and someone gave me a sandwich. Tell us in the comments, because you never know who you're really helping. Until the next day, would you have given that man a sandwich, or walked away like everyone else?